Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our Topics in Neurorehabilitation webcast, brought to you by Rewalk Robotics. I'm Jill Butler, and today we'll be talking with the co-owner in one of the first clinics to incorporate the Restore Exosuit into her clinical practice, Christy Smithern from Precision Rehab in Long Beach, California. Christy is a physical therapist with certifications in NDT and ATP and has over 20 years of experience as a leader in the areas of spinal cord injury, stroke rehab, amputations, balance rehab, and wheelchair seating and positioning. Christy is also a certified clinical instructor through the APTA and has been a part-time lecturer in the California State University Long Beach Physical Therapy Program. Today's talk will focus on ways that clinic leadership can help support their clinicians when adopting new technologies into their clinical practice. Hi, Christy. It's great to talk with you today.
Great. Hi, Jill. Thank you very much. So in discussing the integrating new technology into our clinical practice, I'll give you a little bit of idea about Precision Rehab and myself. Jill's already mentioned quite a bit. So I've been doing this since 2000, and my background is in outpatient neuro rehab. I've got some acute neuro rehab experience and subacute rehab experience. And we do a ton of wheelchair seating, custom seating, and those kinds of things in our clinic. Precision Rehabilitation is located in Long Beach, California, and we're 5,800 square feet. So all of the neuro rehab is actually our largest division. But when you have a clinic like ours, you end up with a lot of orthopedics. So we do have a small orthopedic division. And the clinic is all encompassing in that it has PT, OT, and speech. We have 10 licensed therapists, a couple of aides, and 3 admin personnel that work in the clinic. So it's funny because all of these years ago when we were starting the clinic, we had this mission statement. And in our mission statement, our mission statement kind of is indicative of what's going on today in our technology world. So at Precision Rehabilitation, our mission is to optimize our clients' physical performance by providing an evidence-based, comprehensive, state-of-the-art program that maximizes mobility, balance, and gait. We pride ourselves in combining neuroscience, pharmacology, and rehabilitation with innovative technology and scientifically supported therapeutic approaches to enhance daily performance in our clients as they strive for community reintegration. So I definitely thought that that was interesting in that we had a mission statement that was typical of patients with neurological injuries and integrated technology as well. So in our clinic, when you're looking at technology, we have to kind of make some decisions about whether or not it's going to work. You know how it is in rehab. There's not like a huge amount of money sitting around. So as new technologies come along, we always have to take into consideration things as we choose them. So we have to look at the effectiveness of the product that's being presented. We take a look at all of our patient population at that moment in time and think, okay, on our current schedule, how many people can this new technology assist? And we take a look at how much does this product cost and whether there would be any sort of return on that investment as we integrate this technology into our clinic. And then we also take a look at how easy is it to train it, how well is the product supported, all things that are really important for us as we determine what the best product is for our clinic, because there are so many options. So there's a lot of challenges with technology. A lot of times there's a financial challenge because it's expensive, or maybe there's a large time investment. So you have to take away from your revenue producing time to go and learn this new product, to integrate it, to get people into it. I'm an old dog, so stepping outside my comfort zone can always be a challenge as well. And as you're taking a look at product and you're trying to figure out what's good for you, is the product feasible? Is it feasible in the clinic that you're recommending to do that? And then for us, product care and maintenance, I think is an important thing to think about. So we want to ensure that we're going to get well supported as we need to be, and that the product's not too hard to say charge and maintain and do those kinds of things. So in our situation, because we're a little small clinic, we have some really competent clinicians in our clinical practice. So it's very challenging to take anything and tell my clinicians, hey, you're going to use this, so I can't do that. So what I have to do is, A, I have to be excited about it myself. And then B, what we do is when we get a product that we really like and we'd really like to bring into Precision Rehab, we do our best to educate the staff, get the staff understanding, what's going on, because these guys are highly competent therapists and they're all about optimizing neuroplasticity. So what we do is we say, hey, here's the new product, here's the product benefits, here's the research that supports this idea. I really would like to bring this product into the clinic and get them excited about it. In the case of many products, what you need in your clinic is a product champion, so to speak, who is that central individual who gets all geeked out about it, learns all about it, can doff it and don it on all the patients, and it just has a good overall understanding of the operations of the product so that they can train the aides, the students, the clinicians, and everybody to get that product sort of integrated into a regular part of your clinical treatments. So one of the best things I did in education was building excitement about it. I mean, you get the clinicians to understand that these are all the patients that are good. You get the patients excited about it. The patients see you walking and working with patients using that product. And then they say, hey, maybe that would be good for me. So that's very, very helpful. We've done some social media blasts where we'll take pictures of patients operating and performing really well in product, put that up on social media, and then that builds a lot of excitement. In general, our interaction with ReWalk has been amazing. We've been working with them first on the exoskeleton for years, and now with the Restore. And so from a media standpoint, I can't tell you how many news channels and those kinds of things I've been associated with because of the ReWalk product. So it's been kind of a lot of fun, to be honest. We can highlight successful patient outcomes, and I think that's been really good, showing here are the treatment factors that we use, and this is how this patient did with this product. I think that's been very good. And then, working to try to create your support systems, utilize company representatives to help. In the case of ReWalk, they've been super supportive in trying to help get our staff up and trained, making sure that our product is working. And when you're stressed out and you have a super busy schedule and something's not working, like it can be very, very stressful. So they've been amazing in helping us to get that all understanding of how to utilize that product and how to get our students and everybody just operating at the most efficient way. So to give you an idea about some of the stuff that we're working with at Precision, we do a lot of CVA. And so obviously in your CVA population, you have all these asymmetric dynamics, and that affects all the kinematics of the gait cycle. So, even sitting at CSM this last year, you're sitting in a lot of the presentations learning about gait velocity and consistency and repetition and all of those sorts of things. The year before, there was a lot of talk centered around heel off propulsion for just being the single factor that really affects gait propulsion is the strength of the calf. So a product like Restore can help you because you've got your non-paretic side and it can still produce a consistent motion, but your paretic side makes it challenging for you to really get somebody, say, on a treadmill or walking across the room. And so when you don this product on your patient and it helps to normalize some of those gait cycles, then it makes it easier to do what you need to do to try to train some of the asymmetry out of your patient's kinematics. So, really like that part of it, and just the whole power part in the ankle, and seeing that you can physically see the changes in the patient as you don the product and they start to walk. So that has been very exciting. There's strong clinical evidence in post-stroke that really says high intensity, moderate to high intensity walking training interventions, like 60 to 80% of your max heart rate, or 70 to 85% of your max heart rate is really recommended to improve walking speed. And so with a product like this, you can achieve that. Before, if you don't have something to really change some of your kinematics, it's really challenging to meet some of these numbers. And that's the big thing right now, high intensity. And you really want to try to drive the most neuroplastic changes as you can. Obviously, with doing that, you get other things that are fantastic as well. So you get that opportunity to practice the intensity and the repetition. And so that's a critical part of your dosing parameters as you're working with gait. It's for the patient, it's a faster gait than they're comfortable with walking. And so that offers some nice things. You see the kinematics get more normal, and muscle activation for improved efficiency. You see those kinds of things get improved. You have greater neuromuscular recruitment and neuroactivation. And obviously the higher aerobic intensity is good for so many reasons, such as like reducing some cardiovascular events over time because the patient got some exercise. And so because you have all that kind of stuff going on, it affects the improvements in your CNS, like your circulating lactate and other metabolites that are helping to drive that neuroplastic change. So it's ideas like this, for example, that I've utilized to try to excite my staff in using products such as the Restore. Obviously, from a motor learning component, you can show that intensity can drive changes there too. There's a lot of evidence that support things like acute bouts of high intensity exercise and how it can have an impact on our cognitive learning or on improving upper extremity motor learning. So, maybe you get your OT all excited about the PT doing the Restore, and then they have OT right after. So we know from everybody, including ourselves, that intensity of exercise, it matters. So Restore does all those things. It helps you achieve the principles of motor learning because it helps to normalize some of the kinematics of gait, and it allows you to increase our gait velocity. It helps to reduce our cardiovascular risk, as I mentioned before, because now you get to train the heart. It helps to achieve repetition practice because it's going to increase our step count during a single session. It's going to be significantly higher than anything you could have produced without it. And it's going to help with our limb clearance. It's going to give you some foot propulsion and dorsiflexion clearance. And so it's going to help you to be able to sustain a vigorous aerobic intensity with continuous exercise. So that's important. And not only that, if you have other kinds of impairments, like in the trunk or up the chain, your hands are now available to do that because you don't have to worry about the foot, for example. You can come up control, the pelvic control or the trunk control and those kinds of things. Here are a couple pictures of patients that are working with the product. This gentleman has done amazing in utilizing this product, and he has been the perfect candidate. I mean, literally his biggest problem was a heel off and limb clearance due to decreased dorsiflexion. So he loves the product. And even when the very beginning, when we were struggling with it a little bit, he was very patient because he just really wanted to utilize it during our practice. I think we're going to open it up for some questions.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. That was a really great overview of how you've incorporated the new technology. Some of the questions that we have are going to be, you can either, related to the Restore specifically or just a sort of new technology in general. I think a lot of the three questions that we have, I think all three of them really could be geared in either direction. So take it however you will. So the first one, I wanted to just talk a little bit more about that idea of a product champion that you brought up. What we were interested in was maybe what qualities do you look for when choosing which therapist to go for, and how do you support them? So once you've sort of chosen that person, do you sort of just let them fly, or does your clinic have anything sort of particularly in place in terms of mentoring or blocking out time in their schedule or something like that? So just a little bit more about the product champion process.
Very good. So in our clinic, it's funny, the product champion almost self-selects themselves. Yeah. So because they're the ones that get all geeked out on it and get excited about it. And in our clinic, like we've sort of had two product champions. So I am one of those technology kind of people with the wheelchair seating and all that kind of background and what I do. The technology has been amazing and I've enjoyed working with it. I mean, just the exoskeleton stuff that we utilized for so many years and still do utilize has been a lot of fun, but it's me that gets all excited about it. Yep. Well, right now we have a neurological resident who is kind of a personality similar to mine, and she's all excited about various kinds of things. And so she got into it and she just kind of self-selected herself. Nice. So what we did is we aligned her with ReWalk and, along with the rest of the staff. But, she did a little extra training with our local ReWalk rep. Right. And so then she just became helpful to everybody. We mentor her because she's in a neurological residency program. So there's natural mentoring that's already scheduled into the schedule that's part of her program. Mm-hmm. So that made it really easy.
I think that helps.
Ideally, I guess it would be great. Like if you had a full-time aide and that was your product champion, I think that would be ideal. Okay. But in our case, our aides are part-time, so nobody jumped on it, but the neurological resident did and I did, and between the two of us were there enough that it worked out.
Cool. Awesome. The second one is talking about the building of excitement. I think that's a really important issue as well, and something that we all know is important, but maybe struggle to actually put into place sometimes. So just, you gave already some examples of what you do to build excitement, talking about educating your therapists more. One specific question that I had was about sharing the research with them. How much do you go into that? It sounds like you have very motivated therapists, but how do you present the research to them? Do you sort of just give them the articles and let them do the digesting, or do you guys do it all sort of like a journal club or presentation of it at all? How do you best think it is to get that information to the therapists?
Well, so in our case, we everybody's very into education. So we've got clinicians that teach at USC, Mount St. Mary's. So we're all involved on the education side to some degree. So that naturally drives a lot of that. We go to combined sections meeting every year, and I mean, practically close the clinic down just to be able to do that. And so when we're doing that, everybody's busy doing their thing, and then we come back and we present to each other. And so obviously in neurological rehab, all of the things that affect neuroplasticity and, gait velocity and those kinds of things are always on everybody's mind, motor learning, those kinds of topics. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, in a product like this, when it became available, I had one therapist that was super resistant. She is amazing, very, very smart clinician, but she was very resistant because she's like, well, it's too much. I can't do all that. It takes me 20 minutes to get it on the patient, and I can't give up that time. We schedule every 45 minutes. I don't want to give up my patient's time. So one day something happened. She got sick and she had this perfect guy. So I took her patient schedule over and I got the perfect guy on the product, and he killed it. The guy killed it. And so anyways, in her case, it was the patient that got her excited about it. Like, the patient was like, oh, I want to do that product every time I come in. And so then I told her, I kind of calmed her down. I was like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to help you. You can get this on in 5 to 8 minutes, So, we'll just get it going. And then you can maybe train his mom to kind of help out, because this happens to be a younger patient. Okay. You can train the mom to help, maybe don some of the stuff before you ever step into the clinic. And so in his case, we got him regularly using it, and it was kind of an accident. So any opportunity that you can take, you got to take it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that, building it from the ground up, right? They can't say no to those patient demands. I love it. All right, so just one more, and this one is a little bit more Restore specific. When you first started using the Restore in your clinic, what were some of the metrics that you all used for tracking patient outcomes and progress? Anything specific you'd recommend?
It's so silly, but the typical metric is just the 10-meter walk test. So you guys have that built into your product. It's really nice. The other kind of thing that we use a lot is just your gait analysis skills. So you're just being able to observe and see what's going on with limb clearance and kinematics of gait, and that's really nice. And so when you get the patient like up on the treadmill, for example, you can really see it. You see the perfection of what's going on. So we'll do those kinds of things. We do it with and without the Restore turned on.
Yep.
So we've done a lot of that. I haven't done things like the tug or those kinds of things with it, but the 10-meter I think is a pretty effective test. You probably could do 6-minute walk test for cardiovascular endurance. And people are definitely walking more than 6 minutes for us, but we haven't specifically done that test and compared it to their off unit. That would probably be a good way to do that too.
Okay. Do you guys track step count at all usually, or not generally?
Not generally, but it is significantly higher with the product.
Yeah.
So, and I love the visual feedback. Like, that's a huge thing out of the product as well. So what I do is I get the patient going and I set the screen right in front of them so they can see the symmetry as they're walking. And I tell them, your job's keep it 50-50.
Right.
And so they get that visual feedback, which is really nice.
Yep. And that's something else that you can sort of track over time too, is, an estimate, of how often they're able to get towards that 50-50 mark and how many cues they need for that to get there and whatnot.
For sure. Great. We're definitely talking about that in the assessment, trying to justify skilled therapy.
Yep. I feel you. All right. Well, anything we can do for that to help, we're always glad to help. Well, Christy, thank you so much for talking with us today. It was awesome to hear from you and how you've been integrating Restore into your practice. That wraps up our session for today. To our viewers, thanks for stopping in, and we hope that you come back again next week for our next episode. Have a great week.